Hello, Michole.
Hi, Bianca. Hey, girl.
Thank you for sitting down with us here at the Baldwin.
It's my pleasure.
I love your hair. Beautiful.
Thank you. Same. You,
Thank
you
you.
family girl.
Yes. So in episode 9, Lucille
Yes,
finally discovers who the other woman is, and
girl.
it's her friend,
Girl,
Mabel.
ma'am.
Do you think the audience will be surprised by the way Lucille handles that information?
I don't know. Well, you tell me. Were you surprised?
Well, now in episode 8, when I saw Lucille go up in the skating rink, it
Right.
told me that Lucille's got a side to her. Like she doesn't play.
Right.
And so when she found out the way that she did, Mabel was sitting right there in her house, right next to her. I was proud of Lucille.
Right. Were you surprised though?
Yes,
Really?
because I really wasn't sure how she was going to handle that
Yeah.
information. Now, I could tell Lucille definitely wanted to get physical, but she had restraint.
Mhm.
But I was surprised to see her go off the way that she did because we hadn't seen that side of Lucille. This isn't who the audience is used to.
Right. I'm glad. I'm glad that it's a surprise, and to me, like playing it and with all the given information that she received, that you are my friend, and wait a minute. I mean, it was already enough that Charles was doing this, and um and that it was somebody that I confide in, and who's I've shared so many things with, and she shared so much with me, and our relationship is just so false. It's nothing of what I thought it was. And even in that moment, I'm trying to confide in her and looking for advice. And Yeah, it's bad.
But you did such an amazing job executing it because I think in that moment, I could feel what Lucille was feeling, just everything. The when talking to her, the pauses, the way you were looking at her stern, directly in her eyes, waiting for answers, not waiting for answers, because it's like at this point, you know what? I don't need to hear what you have to say.
Right.
And just the way it unfolded, because she came over and you were ready to confide in her with what you had just found out,
Mm,
and she's kind of sitting there and listening to you, and then you put it together. And so it's an amazing scene. It truly is. You did a phenomenal job just playing that role of a woman that has been cheated on, and the
yeah.
other woman being a friend.
Right. That I can't even imagine. That is just, yeah. It was interesting playing that scene, because everything, in some moments I didn't know what up. Oh, sorry. I really didn't know what I was gonna do. From moment to moment, it was just like uh listening, and just following my instinct throughout the scene, and then also really wanting to put the fear of God in her.
Oh yes, and I think you were very successful in that, because that, like I said, it's not something anyone has seen from Lucille.
Yeah.
So I think it is going to be surprising for some people, because it kind of leads into my next question. So, do you think Lucille's devotion to church is what causes people to perceive that she's kind of weak or meek, because we see even in the episode where Lucille goes to dinner with Pastor Swift, and for her, it's a dinner to confide in her pastor. I want to talk to you about what's been going on with me. And we see that Pastor Swift tries to make an inappropriate pass at her. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like people assume, you know, she's God-fearing, she's religious, she goes to church every week, she's involved in the women's groups, and she's just very caring. I think people take it as weakness.
Yeah, I don't know if, you know, I think for Lucille, it's still like kind of moment to moment. She's, you know, putting the pieces of her own life together, and she might even surprise herself with how she responds. But, you know, after a certain point, you know, you've been kind of kicked enough, you're gonna like go, hey, wait a minute, what is happening here? And there have been so many things that have been piled on top of each other at this point that is easy to kind of explode a little bit at times, because it's like, whoa, wait a minute, you know, I'm not a doormat here. And I'll say though about Pastor Swift though, I do think she might have put out some mixed messages, because really she did, her part of her intention was to make Charles jealous. You know, yes. She definitely wanted it to appear to be that way. And I know he's always uncomfortable with Pastor Swift too. So, and he might be uncomfortable for good reason. But I don't think I fully expect that that Pastor Swift would respond the way he did. And then, and on top of that, not to pay the check because of what I said. Now that was just, girl, he wrong for that.
I said, this is such a Twitter thing that he did. Right. When you see the people going back and forth, I said, where did he get that from? He said, yeah, make sure you split that check in half.
Right.
I couldn't believe it.
I mean, the pastor of all people, like what? Just wrong. But I've been there before. Right. It's just from men. Some men will really pull that card on you when they don't get their way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, they will.
You got to be prepared.
And I think people have to remember Lucille was very devoted to Charles through everything that was going on, because it wasn't just this affair situation, but it's also the situation of her getting a job to help with providing the overhead in the house and being patient with him with any type of idea he had to try to make money. And the way he was with Terry and Meech, you know, he ruled with an iron fist, and sometimes she didn't necessarily want to go that way, but she always stuck beside her husband. She did through all of it. She stuck beside her husband and played the role of a devoted wife. So this was really like a gut punch to Lucille.
Yes. What part was a gut punch? Are you saying just that
she was so devoted and he went out and had this affair?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All of it. Yeah, she's been there, and you know, she's, you know, particularly more in the first season, is somewhat submissive, and trying to really go be right by the Bible, but also, you know, she believes that she's his partner, and she's never, you know, she kind of stands up for that in season 1 too. Like, hey, wait a minute, like we're still partners here. Don't disrespect me, you know. But yeah, it's all. It definitely is. You know, this whole season has been a gut punch to her, and you know, and she's standing up now and really learning to honor herself, and really seeing the light and starting to really stand her ground now.
So I have one more question for you, and it's, with your overall portrayal of Lucille Flenory, what did you want viewers to understand about the real life Lucille as a wife, as a mother, and as a Black woman in the 80s?
As a wife, as a wife, I think one of the most important things is that she loves her husband. And the way she has communicated their relationship to me is like they had a very, very special bond. And nothing can really take that away. Even though things may be shifting, they still, the love underneath is still always there. Now, it might play itself out in a lot of different ways, but and they had a very deep spiritual connection. And that was one of the things that inspired her most about him, that and the music and all of that. And then what was the other one you said? So as a wife,
as a mother,
I think the most important thing is that people understand that her children did not come from a broken family. They came from a broken neighborhood, and the opportunities that were presented to them outside were limited. And so they made the choices that they made to help to take care of their family. And, and they wanted a better life, trying to live out their dreams on some level. But this is what was there. And when I actually spent time in the neighborhood when the very first season, when we shot out there were so many people that I got to talk to that had a similar experience. And even, other people who said they came from a 2-parent home that was, they were raised really well, but this is just what was happening outside. So everybody was doing it. And, you feel some kind of pressure sometimes to do it. And then that's your only way of making money or, having something. And, but that's one of the most important things. She wanted people to know that she raised them well, regardless of what was said in the church. And that's where she felt really hurt, I think, because in her church home, that she did feel shunned by the church because of what her boys were doing. But that was still a time where she needed the support from the church most to get through this thing, or to, and for them, I mean, they went through so many different things with them being shot and all, I mean, so many times and all of this. And how do you really navigate that? Because it was not only her sons that were going through this. I mean, it was really almost everybody in their neighborhood. So anyway, and not to really receive that support. So I really felt like that scene in the church, that monologue I felt like that was one of the most important moments that to share in her voice. I really felt that. And then what's the last one?
And then as a Black woman.
As a Black woman. So I'm going to take that to, this last episode. And now she's a woman, an independent woman, and learning to be more independent in this moment, and starting to see that just because the Bible said for me to be submissive in this way doesn't mean that I cannot honor and take care of myself, because what all these things that are going on, this cannot be right or fair, and finding the balance in that. And without that experience, I don't know that she would have, learned to stand up in this way. So as a Black woman, I think that right now that she's learned to honor herself as a woman, period, and is really going, hey, wait a minute, I really am valuable here, and I have to learn to value myself. And when you can really value yourself, everything on your outside starts to change, but it starts here with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for joining us. You are, again, like I said to Russell when I interviewed him, a veteran in this industry. We love seeing you. I remember you from being Overton's little sister. So I appreciate you so much for joining us here at the Baldwin. Thank you.
Thank you, love. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank